Hi everyone. I want to kick everything off just first off by apologizing to you guys by doing this over a webcam. Still looking at building out my studio and getting things a little bit more cleaner, more professional looking, and just better experience for you. But I did want to introduce this video just briefly. This is a friend of mine. His name is Pat. I've known Pat for the last 21 years. He knew me back even when I was in high school and he was in high school, old time friends. So I think it's going to be a great conversation. I know that you guys will enjoy it, and there'll be more to come on this if you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions for Pat as well, he's going to be in our Discord server, so feel free to jump in, ask him any kind of questions. He's more than an open book and happy to share, and you guys will see that in this video. Um, yeah, really appreciate y'all. Thank you very much.
Pat, where did you grow up? Tell us a little bit about your childhood.
Yeah, I mean, well, you know that pretty well. I grew up in good old Northern California. Um, Grew up, I started out when I was really, really young. Um, Obviously, well, you know, other people don't know, but I had a single mother, and we grew up in the ghetto down near San Juan. So, because you lived around that area, you know where Greenback and San Juan is, right?
Yep.
Yeah, so back in the 90s, like that was depending on where you go in that area, there's really deep gang activity. Um, Actually
Drugs, stuff like that.
a lot of white supremacy,
Yeah.
um, territorial type stuff. And my mother, she worked for the state at the EDD, and as a she was a network technician, which was proud point, kind of pioneering for her time, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not a lot of women were in those kind of tech positions, but
Yeah,
she
not at all.
and you may see as the conversation progresses how that kind of impacted my progression. But starting out, she didn't make a whole lot of money, and there was three of us, me and my two sisters, so we were in the ghetto, and it was not the best neighborhood, but that's where I started out at on in San Juan. And then once she started making better money, this is kind of where it comes into where you know me. We moved up to Orangevale, um, off of Beauregard Avenue, I think. Beauregard was the street name, anyway. And that's where I kind of focus my childhood. That's where the best memories are. Um, and then from Orangeville, I went to Casa Roble High School, and I stayed there until I joined the military and shipped off to wonders beyond.
So you give me a great segue there. What led to you joining the military? Like, kind of, what was your thought process, and what kind of led to that experience?
Yeah, so I mean, like any normal kid, it kind of built up like everybody. Because I mean, spoiler alert, I joined the Air Force. And everybody growing up that's ever seen Top Gun,
Yeah.
any kind of fighter pilot movie wants to be a fighter pilot, right? I mean, that's just the natural inclination, because it's just so sexy,
Yeah.
right? Everybody wants to be a fighter pilot. But and I kind of pitched it there to my mother, when I was a little bit younger. Um, like, I want to be a fighter pilot. She's like, oh yeah, join the military. That'd be a great experience. It's a great career, and et cetera, et cetera. And this was when I was maybe like 14 ish. But over time, that feeling just never really went away. Like
Yeah.
the sense of joining the military, like you know, for whatever reason, college never really appealed to me. Um, I think mostly because a lot of it was growing up in a bad neighborhood,
Yeah.
and we're kind of cutting to a separate thing here, but most of the people in my direct family, they were not successful. They were not good people. My mother, she had, I say adopted, but she took in some kids from the street because she had a really big hire. So here and there, you know, people would be staying with you, you know, maybe 3 months, maybe 6 months,
Yeah.
maybe more, maybe less, you know, and they were all, you know, saying they're trying to get their life together, whatever. But you know, you grow bonds to that. And I had several people that lived with us growing up that I considered brothers, and they just did all the wrong things.
Yeah.
And you know, I didn't want to be that person. Um, you know, I wanted to make my mother proud and things like that. And it seemed like joining the military was like the quickest thing I can do to bring about that kind of, you know, acknowledgement, or that kind of, you know, look at my son go.
Yeah.
He's 18. He just graduated boot camp. You know, that kind of thing. But I mean, some of the other stuff also. I mean, it was you, because
Oh,
you were in the Air Force.
a little ahead of you.
Yeah, just a
Just
little bit before ahead of me, and you told me some cool stories and things like that.
yeah.
So you know, all those things combined, I think, is what led me to joining the military. And then, because I just wanted to join the military. I didn't really care
Yeah.
what branch. The one thing, and this is what my mother impressed upon me, was, okay, I don't care which military branch you join, but they have to have good education benefits.
Which she probably didn't
So
realize they all have the same benefits.
yeah, exactly. But there's different graduation rates, right?
Yeah.
So, and that's kind of what led to all the recruiters, you know, like, so I'm here, you know, and I want to join the military, and I visited all four of them. So which one gives the best education? So eventually it came down to a like a competition between Navy and Air Force, because the
Hmm.
Navy, second to the Air Force, actually gave the most bachelor degrees for the year that I was enlisting.
Yeah.
So the second the most. So the Navy gave the second the most. The Air Force had the most. And you know, talking it over to my mother, who was with me every time I went to the recruiter, she's like, "Oh, well, the Air Force gives the most bachelors. You should go there." It's like, okay, cool. And then we started talking a little bit deeper about, you know, like, well, Air Force, I want to be a fighter pilot. And he's like, okay, great, yeah, yeah. So you need to go get a 4-year degree. I was like, ooh, well, that's 4 years from now. I don't want to
But I want to be a fighter pilot now.
do that. Yeah, right. So, little known fact, you can't just join the Air Force and fly a plane. You actually have to go to college. And then you have to go to fighter school.
Yeah.
And then maybe drop out of
And do
fighter school.
everything right because they'll put you in a cargo plane otherwise.
Exactly. That's what I was getting to. Is like, and then if you drop out of fighter school, you gotta go fly a C-17.
Yeah.
So, but but yeah, I mean, so it eventually became less about, oh, big time fighter pilot, and more about just enlisting.
Yeah.
And that's what led me to MEPS.
Yeah. And we'll probably talk at another time or later on about basic training and all that stuff. But I think the career you chose, because if I remember correctly, you joined with your career already planned, right? Or did you go open into basic?
No, I went open.
Okay.
Well, I can't say that, because you use the verbiage open, where I know.
Unselected or whatever the
Right,
right
but
term is.
there's a certain thing, you go there, and when you go meet your liaison or whatever, if you're open, like mechanical, or open
Yeah.
this or that, like they'll just choose for you. Like I never did that, but I was open in the sense that I didn't know
Yeah.
anything about anything when I went down there. Like, because you know, it's an interesting thing when you go to MEPS, at least in the Air Force. I can't speak to the other services and how they work, but in the Air Force, they have a certain amount of slots open per day per career field, and once those slots are up, then it's, you know, you have to go somewhere else,
Yeah.
right? And that's actually some of the things I heard, you know, from other people when I went to MEPS, is like, well, if you really have your heart set on this job, and then there's no jobs that day that you go, just say, oh, I want to go a later date.
Yeah.
I didn't do any of that, obviously. I was very naive going into MEPS. Like, I originally wanted to be a aircraft, um, engine mechanic or
Hmm.
a mechanic or a crew chief or
Maintenance
something like
squadron
that.
type thing, yeah.
Yeah. Thank God I didn't do that.
You ended up
But
with a good job. Like
no,
I remember when you told me what your job was that you're going after. I was like, "Holy crap, dude! Like
you're
that's
an
hard.
idiot,
Are you really sure you want to do that?" Um,
right?
so tell everyone what you ended up doing because it's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a very funny story. So I went down there fully expecting to find an aircraft mechanic or whatever, but for whatever reason they were really pushing this one job. It's called EOD, Explosive Ordnance Disposal, which is the military bomb squad. And for all you viewers out there who's ever seen the Hurt Locker, it's the
It's
same
just
same
like
thing.
that.
Oh, it's so realistic.
All the
Well, not really.
AWOL and all that stuff, and punching your
Yeah.
senior NCOs in the
Look,
head.
yeah, I really love this little kid. Let me put on a hoodie and sneak off the fob and go find him. That's 'cause that's what everybody does. Um, but yeah, and the funny thing is like I had no idea what EOD was when I went down to MEPS. No, nobody was like, "Oh, you should go do EOD." I just went down there, right? And like you walk into, I remember it very vividly. I walked into this room, right? And there's this, I think he was a master sergeant, which is a E7 in the Air Force. And he's sitting there looking all, bureaucratic behind the desk. And he's got like a pen in his hand. He's like, "Hey, son, you like money?" I'm like, "Well, I'm 18. Yeah, I like money." He's like, "You want to blow stuff up?" I was like, "Well, I'm 18, so that sounds really fun." "Oh, you should sign here." So you
Wow.
get a $10,000 signing bonus if you. Here's the thing: is you get a $10,000 bonus if you graduate EOD school, but they don't tell you what EOD school is or
Which is
how
like one of the
long or
hardest
how
tech schools,
difficult.
right? Because you
Yeah,
can't take your course material home to study and things like that. Because
exactly.
yeah, it's
It
insane.
is. It's one of the most difficult academic tech schools in the Department of Defense. And it's interesting because lately, my current job, I interact with EOD a lot as a civilian, and I've gone back to the schoolhouse multiple times, and it's evolved. It's a lot more physical now because they're expected to, support special forces and things like that. So they actually have to be able to, hike and ruck
Do
stuff.
things.
So yeah.
Not just drive a robot up to something and blow it up, right?
Granted, I mean, even before all that kicked off, wearing a bomb suit in 100-degree weather was never easy, but it's gotten more demanding over time.
Yeah.
But when I joined, that wasn't as big of a deal, I guess.
Yeah.
So, but he's like, "Oh, you want $10,000? You like to blow stuff up? Sign here." I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna sign here." So I did, and then he gave me this big old printout of the job description of EOD, and I took it back to my mom first, and she read it and just mortified, white, pale face, like, "We'll have to defuse nuclear weapons,"
Daily.
you know. And then I took it back to my recruiter because he's like, "What job did you get?" I was like, "I'm EOD." He's like, "Okay, do this." I'm like, "All right, man, sorry, I'm doing it." He's like, "Okay, now wave your fingers." I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." He's like, "I hope you're not used to them because they're going bye bye." And I was like, "What the hell do you mean?" And then he showed me a recruiting video that he had about EOD, and it was all real high speed and lots of explosives and funny stuff. And so it was when I saw the video, I finally realized because you can't really attribute all that from like
Paper.
paragraphs upon paragraphs of
Yeah.
job descriptions. It's easier to see it. And then once I actually got to the school and like my first instructor had half his leg blown off when he walked in
Oh.
the room. He's on, like he looked like his leg had gangrene and stuff. And I'm pretty sure they purposely do that to intimidate
Make
and
you know how serious this is that you're doing.
right to
Yeah.
make you understand. So you see that and it's like an attention getter. Like, oh, well, I guess I'm in for it.
Yeah.
So I had no idea what I was walking into when I joined the military. At least when I joined EOD.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you did it, and you passed it,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
and
sure
you have
enough.
you have a career because of it. I mean, that's pretty awesome how it
I've
worked out.
I've